Should you use credit cards? There is no definitive answer to this question, and someone who claims to avoid credit cards as if avoiding the plague is just as extreme or misguided as someone who uses credit cards recklessly. Both extremes indicate a limited understanding of how the credit system operates because outright refusal to use credit cards is, in reality, both wasteful and costly. Why is this the case? First and foremost, it's essential to understand the business model of credit cards. Financial institutions involved with credit cards, such as banks or credit issuers, sustain themselves through three primary revenue streams. 1. Interest rates, late fees, and cash advance fees, generated from users who incur late payments or have urgent cash needs. 2. Annual fees, charged to users. 3. Merchant fees, collected from merchants and retailers. Among these, annual fees are the lowest revenue stream, and many banks waive or reduce this fee to attract users. For instance, they may offer no annual fee for the first year, waive fees for high-limit cards, or waive fees if you spend a certain amount within a year. Interest rates, late fees, and cash advance fees make up the largest portion of revenue, accounting for over 50% of total income according to data from The Economist, referenced in the comments below. However, not all credit card users incur these fees. The third revenue stream, merchant fees, accounts for over 40% of revenue. For example, when you use a credit card to dine out, shop, or buy airline tickets, the merchant must pay a commission fee to the credit card issuer. If the fee is 2%, which is the current average, then for every $1,000 you spend, the merchant only receives $980. Why do merchants pass these fees to consumers? Because merchant fees constitute a significant revenue source. Many credit card issuers strive to get as many people to use their cards as possible and to use them frequently. They do this by waiving various fees or interest rates initially or when users meet certain spending thresholds, along with offering attractive cash back programs and reward points. One can imagine credit card users as spenders who help banks earn merchant fees. By increasing the number of credit card users, more stores and merchants are required to accept credit card payments. From the revenue generated through merchant fees, credit card issuers allocate a portion to offer cash back and promotions to users. For example, with a 2% transaction fee, they might allocate around 0.2 to 0.5%. But do retailers just give money to their customers and financial institutions by losing 2% of their revenue on every transaction? Certainly not. Instead, they pass this cost on to customers. If a merchant wants to earn $1,000, instead of pricing the item at $1,000 and receiving only $980, they might increase the price to approximately $1,021 so that the customer bears the cost. This is similar to how stores on food delivery apps operate. The reality of capitalism. Consumers bear the cost. In the capitalist world, the end consumer is always expected to bear the various fees imposed by intermediaries involved in producing the services they use. This means that not using a credit card can actually cost you money when using services at establishments that accept credit cards. Note, this is not 100% accurate but is common, because credit card users receive cash back, earn reward points redeemable for valuable products, receive airline miles, hotel discounts, etc. While cash users don't receive any of these benefits, even though they are paying the increased prices that merchants have set to offset credit card merchant fees. In simple terms, it's like using a food delivery app without applying a promo code because you're paying in cash instead of through a linked wallet. Therefore, as credit cards become more prevalent, using cash becomes increasingly disadvantageous. In countries like the US, it has been calculated that, on average, cash users end up paying more each year for equivalent services compared to credit card users. In other words, cash users effectively pay credit card users a portion of their spending annually too. Understanding the second revenue stream, interest and fees. Returning to the second major revenue source, interest rates, late fees, and cash advance fees. You don't have to incur any of these fees if you use your credit card wisely and carefully. If you spend exactly what you pay off each month without carrying a balance, you won't pay any interest. If you pay on time, you won't incur late fees. And if you don't use your credit card for cash advances, you won't pay those hefty fees either. Ideally, you should use your credit card without ever incurring these 3 fees, because credit interest rates are typically high, ranging from 30 to 50% annually. Cash advance fees are around 5% per withdrawal, and late fees are equally high sometimes, even lowering your credit score. Smart and cautious credit card users never incur these fees. However, such users also don't see their credit scores increase because they are not generating profits for the banks and financial institutions issuing the cards. But can you really manage your credit wisely? Not everyone can manage their credit wisely, just as not everyone can save money, wake up early, exercise, and eat healthily. Many financial institutions aren't afraid of people using credit cards responsibly because they believe the majority won't be able to do so. They trust that most people will struggle to use credit cards properly and will inevitably incur fees, too. What to keep in mind when using credit cards? I believe part 1 was quite clear. Credit cards are not harmful, but they can exacerbate problems for those with poor spending and income habits. When used correctly, credit provides an additional source of capital to accomplish more in the short term or to chase rewards. Many people even open multiple credit cards across different banks and manage them using professional spending tracking tools so they can earn free airline miles, free stays at luxury hotels, tech gadgets, or free meals at upscale restaurants without incurring any fees. However, for the majority, having access to easily available credit coupled with unstable living conditions leads to dependence on credit cards and living with high-interest debts. Here are some important tips. Don't default on your debt. Defaulting on your credit card debt will result in a poor credit score, making it impossible to secure large loans in the future. Note that large loans are crucial in a capitalist society. Without access to large loans, most people cannot afford to buy homes, maintain happy marriages, properly raise children, or advance in their careers. If you are a typical middle-class individual, almost 100% of you will need these loans to live decently in a capitalist society. Therefore, don't let a small credit debt from your youth ruin your future. Don't miss payments or take cash advances. Try to pay off credit card debt as early as possible. Interest and fees are very high, eroding your income and capital, pushing you into increasingly difficult situations. In many unavoidable cases, this might be an emergency option, but be cautious when using emergency options, and especially don't use them in normal conditions. If you find yourself using emergency options during normal times, recognize that your life is already in a state of emergency. Many people are confident that they will never incur these fees until life forces them to choose otherwise. Don't spend beyond your income. Numerous studies show that owning a credit card leads people to spend more than they would without one. This might be because using a credit card is easy and doesn't feel as painful as paying with cash. It could also be because people aren't good at considering future numbers. Additionally, places that accept credit cards often have higher service prices compared to budget services. For example, if you only carry cash, you can only eat basic udon in a mall, but not have beef stir-fry at a local restaurant, thus spending. This is easy to say, but hard to implement. Strive to pay off credit card debt and prioritize it. Even if you can't pay off all your debt, try to pay as much as possible to reduce the interest you incur. Immediately reduce your spending and pay off your credit card debt, then start using it responsibly again. Don't try to wait until you have enough money to pay it all off, because one, it's harder to do and the interest will be higher. The minimum payment method has been banned in the US because it increases credit risk for users, but it's still common in Vietnam. Don't fall into the minimum payment trap. Pay as much as you can and strive to pay off your debt to regain your financial freedom. Sometimes, credit card debt can delay your plans, prevent you from quitting your job, trying new things, etc. Paying off your credit card can help you gradually regain control over your life. 3. In summary, credit cards are only beneficial for those who have mastered their financial discipline, and they pose significant risks for those still struggling with spending and income issues. Therefore, the two most important and essential lessons for anyone. Increasing your income is the most crucial and lifelong goal. Controlling your spending, not just limiting it, can help you control your life. Remember, when you borrow to use, you're using your future money. Therefore, a fast enough growth rate and a good strategy will help you leverage benefits. But if you spend all your money from 2023 and 2022 without gaining anything useful, then 2023 will be extremely tough because you have to spend less than before. When you didn't have credit cards, you have to repay credit card debt. Your life will have cycles where debt repayment years sink to the bottom and everything feels incredibly difficult. This seems to be the operating principle in the simplest terms of an economy where most money in the world is credit. The capitalist world borrows future money to stimulate current growth, and if things don't go as planned, when the repayment time comes, a recession occurs. These are known as short-term and long-term debt cycles. After all, money and credit are resources. Using resources isn't bad. Using them incorrectly, inefficiently, or wastefully is bad.